Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Sorry, I don't have a presentation. We were busy with the central team which came to visit the cyclone affected areas in Cuddalore district. So I reached 1 a.m. in the morning. So we were not ready. I'm not ready with the presentation. But I would like to just place certain facts and figures in front of you. And what are the various avenues in which you can access the NREGA scheme? It's in short the National Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, short is called the NREGA scheme, which would be really helpful. This information would be helpful and people are interested in working on this particular scheme in your respective areas, so welcome. And we have also made some suggestions because generally what happens in the scheme of this magnitude, we don't, knowingly or unknowingly, we leave out certain sectors. So this time we made a conscious effort to include the physically disabled and the mentally disabled people into the scheme in a conscious manner. So what I like to say is, if you ask me for some data about the functioning of the scheme with the people with mental or physical disabilities, I will not be able to provide. But over a period of 2-3 months, since I'm interested in this particular sector, consciously we are trying to get details about the scheme, especially in the details about the individuals who are participating in the scheme from the various villages in this state. In Tamil Nadu, we have around 12,524 village panchayats and nearly 70,000 habitations, and having a rural population of around 3.5 crores, 3.5 to 4 crores. And we have, I'm also looking at the Panchayat Raj institutions, where we have around 12,524 Panchayat residents, and into 5 would be the now total nearly 80,000 would be the councillors who represent from the individual areas, individual ward, which we call. This I'm talking only about the rural areas, not about the urban areas. This scheme is only operational in the rural areas and not in the urban areas. So I'm not talking about the Panchayat Raj institutions or the democratic institutions, the urban areas. And we have, at the block level, we have the Panchayat unions, where we have a chairperson, vice chairperson, and the council members, and every district has got a district panchayat. Coming back to that act, and regarding the sensitization of the Panchayat Raj institutions, I'd like to complete by saying what we are trying to do with the help of Banyan and Shrishti and all these people. That will come later. But I'll just talk about this scheme, NREGA scheme. This act was notified. This is an act. Earlier we had a lot of employment assurance program, like it started with JRY, Jawar Rozgar Yojana in 1980s, which then became the employment assurance program, then became SGRY, and finally the contractors had a major say in all those programs. So this has come as an act, and very importantly, through this act, through this particular program, I'm not going to talk anything on the skilled laborer. This act provides only for unskilled laborers. So my focus, or majority of my people would be people who would require services through this particular scheme would be unskilled people and not skilled people. So this particular act was notified on September 7, 2005. The scheme was inaugurated on 2006. One of the flagship programs of the UPA government. Here they contribute 90% of the. It doesn't mean when I say it's a central government scheme, government of the scheme, there's nothing to do with state government. State government contributes 10% towards the scheme, and 90% is contributed by the government of India. So this year the budget is around 3,500 crores, and we have proposed over 4,000 crores for the next year. But hopefully we should do better next year. This time we had 2 elections, and every election, the assembly elections and the local body elections, in every elections, we have the model code of conduct, which really puts us in the back seat. And this year we had some unprecedented rains and cyclones as well. So even a small, slightest disaster, the program takes a back seat. The basic objective of this act is to enhance livelihood security in rural areas, providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult member volunteered to do unskilled manual work. Actually, the act is so strong that if a person just gives us in writing or orally, says that I want work under the scheme, we should provide them work within 15 days time. This 15 days time, we should register the person and give them a job card. And if you don't provide them a job within 15 days time, then we have to provide them a subsistence allowance. So that is how powerful this act is. and this is how we are able to register as many as people, because here we didn't ask them to come and register. We volunteered ourselves, and the state government volunteered ourselves to our democratic institutions at the rural areas, and we had a lot of IEC programs, information communication and education program in the rural areas, and these people voluntarily and as knowledgeable participants, they're participating in this particular scheme. The salient features are the adult members of the rural household willing to do unskilled manual work may apply for registration in writing or orally in the local Gram Panchayat. So he doesn't have to come and meet any of these bureaucratic institutions. The Gram Panchayat, the village Panchayat office is available within the village itself, so they can just go and give it writing. Very importantly, after due verification, there are certain conditionalities that individual person who's applying should be a resident of that particular village Panchayat, normally residing in that particular. So we just we don't insist on any proof that he's living there, but we certainly ensure that the person is living there through verification. So a small verification process there. Then we give them a job card with the photo on that particular card, and this is given free of cost. We don't charge anything. The entire cost of printing of the card and the photograph, as well as fixing a photograph, everything is borne by the government. The job card should be issued within 15 days of the application. Very importantly, which is very particular to the people with disabilities and mental disabilities and physically challenged people, that the work should be be provided to people within 5 kilometers radius of the village in which they reside in. So even if you don't find any work, if they are provided work beyond 5 kilometers of radius, then we should give them 10%, whatever is that. At present, the daily wage labor under the scheme is 190 rupees per day. It is basically calculated on certain outcome of manual labor they provide. And if they are given work beyond 5 kilometers, then we have to pay them 10% extra, which would be provided, which would be for their transportation from their place of residence to their work site. The wages are basically paid according to the Minimum Wages Act, and it is equal wages are provided for men and women. So earlier in all the agriculture operations we had, women had lower wages than men. So under the scheme we are provided equal wages are provided for both men and women, and wages are paid basically based upon how much work they do, the piece rate, and it is on a daily basis. So we do disbursement of the wages. We calculate how much of work done. We group them into 20 because it is very difficult to calculate. We have on a daily basis we are monitoring a nearly 70,000 to 1 lakh people turn around on a daily basis all over the state. So it is very difficult to monitor the work done on a daily basis. So we give them a piece of place for them to do manual work, which is basically unskilled land-based activities, and we group them to 20, and based on the work done by these 20 people over a period of 7 days, we calculate and provide them the wages. So every Tuesdays we make them payment, and we ensure that at least 1/3 of the beneficiaries are women in the scheme. But fortunately, and a good thing which is happening in our state is more than 90% of the people who are coming for this type of work is basically women. So that is a very important fact. And among them, more than 70% are from the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe communities. The work site should have a creche, compulsory creche, drinking water facilities, first aid kit, small kit should be provided. Why I am talking about a creche, why I want to mention this is, even people with severe disabilities can, if they are able to come to the work site, they can manage the creche where they can take care of the babies if possible. So this is what I would like to mention here. Moreover, we have a shelf of project because this work has to be provided continuously. Whenever I go back to the first point of my talk. That is, when a person applies 15 days, we have to provide them work. So if we don't have a shelf of projects, then when the work a particular project exhausts, after that, if you are not able to find out some work, it's going to be very difficult. So what we have done is we have programmed for the next 1 year. What are the types of works we have to take? In fact, we did a very interesting technological innovation also. We took IRS data. We were able to find out hidden channels, all silted up channels, encroached tanks, small Urides ponds. We were able to find from the data, and we're going to use that for in the future years. So we should have a shelf of projects, because the amount of laborers who are registered in Tamil Nadu, if you are going to calculate that into the total work done, we can tap even 10,000 crores for a state in the, but we are doing less because number of people who are coming for this work is lesser, and it's basically unskilled work. Then basically what we have done in Tamil Nadu is we are permitting only works which is related to water and soil conservation. And current year we are going to take up works for afforestation and land development works. One important thing is the earlier schemes like SGR, JRY, SGRY or ES failed because there's a lot of this contractors involvement in it. In this particular program, in this particular scheme, we never have a single contractor. It is directly the labor is being monitored and the money is given to them. Very importantly, we have a social audit being done in the Gram Sabha. In fact, a directorate of social audit for this particular scheme is to be established at the Directorate of Rural Development in Chennai. In fact, what I would like to do is maybe we involve people who are working in the field of mental or physical disabilities into the audit, so that whenever the social audit is done in future years, this particular aspect can be given importance. And we also have a grievance redressal mechanism in terms of a toll-free number 1299. Any doubts or anything related to the scheme, any information can be got from this particular number. And all my accounts are available for scrutiny at any point of time by anybody. So that is the level of transparency we are maintaining. 1299. When the scheme was inaugurated, we have something called the PW schedule of rates. But for this particular scheme, we are operating a special rural schedule of rates. And as I told you earlier, every year this minimum wages changes. It was 90 rupees in 2006 or something, that particular period. At this year it is 119. Maybe the next financial year there may be some hike. So that particular, all these details are available. We publicize to the maximum extent possible, and the average rate, which was hovering around 60 to 70 per person, we also consciously look into it, because average rate is it is not that they come and do work for 8 hours. It is how much labor they, because 119 is the maximum and they get only 60, 70. That means they are not bringing out the outturn is not good. So we ensure that we from 60 to 70 now we are doing around 90 to 110 rupees is the average rate which is happening in this state. We have I'll just give you some figures. The total number of rural households in the state is 1 crore and 4 lakhs. The number of household registration done is around 72,000. Individual registration is around 1 lakh and 14,000. I like to mention about this individual registration because in future, this is one of the suggestions we are planning to give for people with, it is providing 100 days labor to one family, right? So if there is a 2 adult member who was volunteered to do work, so it will be 50-50. But at least for people with disabilities, physical and mental disabilities, what we are planning to suggest, because they asked for certain suggestions, I think Sir Keshav sir should also strongly support us in this case, that people with the family having a disabled member, he can be treated as a single member, so that if he is coming for work, so he may be provided separately 100 days and the family can do the, share the 100 days labor between them. So if we are suggested to Government of India and they are taking it up very seriously in the Rural Development Ministry. Total job cards issues around the same number, 1 crore and 14 lakhs. The expenditure up to now is we have spent around nearly 6,000 crores from 2006 onwards. Initially it was we started out 3-4 districts, then we upscaled it. So in 2 years there were some problems. Now we are in a full-fledged, we are ready to take up even a larger quantum of money by providing work to these people. One of the important things is, as I told you, majority of them are women who participate in this particular program, who are ready to provide unskilled work. And very importantly, the money which they earn, they don't give it to their husbands, even if they force them for arak or for any of this liquor. And most of the money which the women earn, it goes for the family's nutrition or goes directly to the children's education. This is one important socio-economic dimension which I noticed. And migration to a very larger extent from one district to the other district and within the district or one place to other place has been arrested to a very larger extent due to the scheme. The special provisions, the NREGA scheme under the guidelines under section 55.10, it provides that if a rural disabled person applies for work suitable to his or her ability and qualification will have to be given. This may also be in the form of services that are identified as integral to the program. Provisions of persons with disability, that is the Equal Opportunities Protection and Protection of Rights and Full Participation Act 1995, will be kept in view and implemented. So the guidelines gives all these safeguards, I think, which people should utilize. Some of the steps we have taken in the recent past is that the Puduvaldu scheme, the World Bank assisted Puduvaldu scheme, where when I told you that these days we are looking directly into how much of labor we have provided to these people. They are working in some 14-15 districts. They have given a total list of 90,508 people with physical or mental disabilities, and we have identified those people and provided 20,000 job cards to them. So we will be monitoring these people not only in these 14 districts, in other districts also the numbers will be very high. If the NGOs or stakeholders who are working with them, they are ready to support us, we would like to increase this number to the maximum extent possible. As I told you, we will provide separate job cards to the people with disability. We have given us as a suggestion to the Government of India. And since Girija ma'am and Keshav sir, we both are here, I am ready to give all the work sites. Basically, these people have to work for 8 hours. 1 hour is given for lunch. During the lunch time, especially, we can use the mobile medical units. We can provide all sorts of treatment which they require at the work site itself, so that they don't have to go to the PHC. So the NRHM and we can tie up with NRHM to go through the mobile medical units we can provide. And through the social audit, what we are planning to, and very importantly, recently we had appointed maids. There is work maids for every work site, because we are planning to take up more work site because we want to maximize the benefits of the scheme to the rural public. So when we found that, we didn't do it deliberately, but as a routine, only 20% of the people with disabilities were appointed as maids in this NRGS work sites. We are planning to earlier this 119 rupees wage per day was worked out on basically on a time motion study. So we are with the Banyan and Dr. CRS. We want to do a time motion study for the people with disabilities and mental disabilities, so that we can fix a lower rate, so that if that amount of work done by these people are put in, we can give them the maximum wages. So I think it will come shortly. And very importantly, RBI is also insisting us on ensuring under the name of financial inclusion that we have to do the NREGA payment through the banks. So here, though they say that Tamil Nadu has got a very strong banking sector, but the situation is very, very pathetic. We have banks only in 3,500 panchayats, which is only 1/4 of the total village panchayats in the state. But nevertheless, to take it forward, we are planning to appoint banking correspondents, which is rightly pointed out Mr. Parasuram in this presentation. These banking correspondents also can be, the people with disabilities can play a major role as banking correspondents. And we'll also deliberately ensure that these people are involved in a big way. As far as the new local body setup has come, so we are preparing a detailed training module. This time we had ensured that we include non-communicable diseases, communicable diseases. Ma'am had given us the support and giving the entire health module. We also, with a lot of issues like trafficking, we have included. Then very recently, Vandana and Dr. CRS had met me 15 days back. Then suddenly this idea stuck to my mind, we should include a module on what are the provisions or what sort of help we can provide for this people with disabilities. And if this information is given to the Panchayat presidents, we are going to shortly start a training program. And the module, ma'am, the modules come up so good that most of the UN agencies are asking for a copy of that module. So we are ready to share that module with everybody. And if we are sensitizing this Panchayat presence on this particular aspect, I think it will go a long way in ensuring the democratic institutions or the community's involvement in ensuring good life to these people. One thing I like to tell, where there is a will, there is a way. As far as government is concerned, we are ready. I'm a type of person, I will not say no if there is a good project. Money is always there. We should only find the ways and means to get the money. Thank you.
May I quickly call upon Mr. A. Desiraju, Additional Secretary Health, Government of India, who will speak to us on Government of India's policy formulations for persons with mental illness. Mr. Desiraju.
Justice Pramas my colleagues, Girija, Vijay Kumar, Vandana, all friends and colleagues, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be here. Thankful to Vandana for making it possible to be here this morning. We have listened to a lot of very useful and interesting material in the course of presentations. And I would just like to call attention to two sets of issues, which I hope will inform discussion. Neither of these are particularly original, and several of you have heard me speak at functions like this in the past, and have heard me say these things. So, but I still think they are worth saying. The first thing I would like to say is that any discussion involving issues of mental illness and of activities involving persons with mental illness, these issues revolve fundamentally around the question of stigma and rights. And whatever it is that we are trying to do, either within government or outside government, needs to address this question. Now, Vandana in her presentation made the striking point that everyone is born with rights and everyone is born with dignity. This is not something to be bestowed on them, which is true. But equally true, rights and dignity can be taken away from people. And I think that is the important thing to remember, that it may well be something you are born with, but if it is something which you will lose for reasons which are completely out of your control, then that is the point of intervention. And various things we are trying to do at this point of time in government, in this sector, which involve looking both at the registration, which looking at the program content, looking at a mental health policy. All these moves have been really driven by the recognition, A, that what we have in these various categories is not particularly satisfactory, and B, that they need to be addressed from what may simply be called a rights perspective, recognizing that the articulation of these rights is possibly not very clear in what government says and does. In fact, I was very pleased to hear much of what Vijay Kumar was saying, because I think that reflects very clearly that within government there is a recognition, and that is important. And once that is important, once that comes through, subsequent activities become so much simpler. Now, linked to this question is the whole debate, which I do not particularly want to go into now, but which really will have to come up, which is on illness and disability and how stigma relates to these conditions differently. And there has been mention of the UNCRPD more than once already, which is clearly the defining background to this discussion. But certainly, we have always believed that in the Ministry of Health that there is illness and there are illness-related issues, and we must be careful in our approach to these. There are crucial disability-related issues. There are often conjunction between these two situations. But equally, there could be situations where there is no conjunction. And it is necessary to keep these points in mind. The other issue that I want to call attention to is the whole question of skill development, which is the theme of this workshop. And one of the presentations earlier this morning spoke at length about Parashuraman, who said that vocational education in itself, completely independent of the possibilities of persons with illness, were receiving vocational education. Vocational education itself has been a neglected, you can even use the word stigmatized area. It is not something which has been very thoughtfully done. The recent setting up by the central government of both of there's a Skills Development Council, and at the same time there's also a Prime Minister's Advisory Group on Skill Development. It reflects the fact that the government is aware that there is a problem, but I don't believe there's much more than that, because clearly enormous amounts of work need to be done in framing the outlines of a proper professional education system, which is accessible to persons with or without illness, with or without disability, persons in whatever particular condition. Now, this is not at all easy, and I think made more difficult by the fact that the basic problem lies not with vocational education, but with the fact that school education is completely hopeless. It is Mrs. Vaidyanathan is a very old school education hand and knows the story, and the fact remains, and I think it would be useful if this discussion could be extended into saying that yes, skill development is important, vocational education is important. How do you enable persons living with illness to be able to do a job, to stand on their own feet, to earn income? I think the much larger and more important question is how do you ensure that people with illness also go to school and unless we are in a position to ensure that all young people have a reasonable chance of getting to school and studying up to the age of 14, which is what the Constitution requires us, and 16, which is what Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan says, without impediment. And so I understand it is relatively simpler for persons with physical disability